looking forward, moving forward, what needs to be in place before 2012?
There need to be mechanisms to enable transparency. We need to know exactly where political candidates are getting their money. There need to be more disclosure in terms of how much they're receiving, who they're receiving it from, and we also need to make sure that we limit just how much they can spend. We should never allow a presidential candidate to spend more than 1 billion or even 500 million in Kenya, because the fact that you're spending that amount of money, you'll have to pay it back. If it's from your wealth, you'll have to steal to put it back before you get pushed out of office. So we need to make sure that we limit just how much money they can spend, we limit their sources of funding, and we also ensure that we know exactly where they're getting their money from, so that when policies come to favor particular businesses, we can tell that, oh, this business is going to make a lot of money from this policy because they funded that particular person presidential elections.
The big watchdogs, who should they be?
I think we have the electoral bodies that will be put in place. We have the registrar of political parties. We have civil societies that needs to be, the media also need to be scrutinizing just how much money that is moving the political machineries at different levels. We also have the citizen that need to be very careful when politicians come to them with a lot of money trying to entice them to vote. So everybody needs to play a role in terms of monitoring just how much money politicians spend in elections.
If you look at the Electoral Commission at the moment, though, despite views being raised, for instance, in the last by-election about use of state machinery and so forth, all they have done so far is probably make a mention of it. In terms of actually putting a stop to that, whose responsibility should that be, and why is the electoral body unable or seemingly incapable of doing that?
I think they don't have resources actually to monitor what parliamentary or political candidates are spending and how they're using their campaign money. It costs a lot actually to put a monitoring system to enable a government agency to see exactly how much money is being spent by political candidates. So even if they'll hear of cases of voter bribery, they'll hear of cases of state resources being used in elections, they'll hear of different things, but because they don't have the resources and they don't have the tools actually to monitor and come up with evidence, there's nothing they can do. And that requires a different system in place to ensure that even before you become a candidate, you've declared all your income and they know where your income is, you've declared your sources of campaign funding, and you keep on submitting reports on how much you're spending, maybe every 2 weeks, so that people can see it. But that has to happen at the local level. You can't do it at the national level, because if the registrar of political parties can't be in every constituency, it can't be in every county. So you have to have mechanisms that enable government or monitoring bodies to watch candidates at the local level and see exactly where they're getting their money from. But you also need strong rules that make it difficult for people to break the laws. You have to make sure that when they spend more than they're allowed to, automatically you disqualify them. You have to make sure that you can tell whether they are spending beyond what they're allowed to, or you have to make sure that you are able to tell exactly where they're getting their money from. So they have to open their bank accounts and let the state see how much they have there and where it's coming from.
All right, Dr. Charles Otieno, we'll leave it there for today, but thank you very much for being on the program tonight. Political party financing, political financing, individual politicians financing, should they be required to state their source of funding? That has been our big question for tonight and our topic of discussion on Newsnight. Thank you very much from us here at the Standard Group Centre. I'll now hand you over to Njoroge for the rest of the day's news. Njoroge.